saying that even at the time. Because I'm a tiny person, like most things. But, like, even you put it like a big
So what do you think about the trailer?
for He-Man. They picked a good
Yes.
choice of a song. Honestly, that song most of the times gets on my nerves. I think the one time I liked it used was in like Shrek 2.
Yeah.
But I liked it. I think it was very fitting for the trailer.
Yeah. I saw you watching Aiden Paladin.
Oh yeah, I saw you in there.
Earlier.
And,
Did you see, have you kept up with the whole Clownfish TV versus Kevin Smith debacle
No.
or
I have
controversy?
not. I didn't even know they were in a controversy with him. I know Kevin Smith
because
is writing He-Man.
Yeah, well, he's been, not recently, but a little ways them on Twitter because they had insiders that basically told them that the He-Man show is basically the Tila show.
Yeah, that's what you kind of figure from reading the description of the show.
Yeah. Yeah. And Kevin Smith is like, no, it's not like that. And he got into it a bit with them. But their take was on the trailer was it looks great, and I think everyone agrees it looks great. The art style is fantastic. It looks really, really cool. But their take was that it's probably only showing the first episode or two.
I actually think it's probably the opposite. I think the trailer is only showing maybe the last episode of the season.
Oh, maybe.
Well, because part
they
of
thought maybe it was showing.
The description is that Tila's on her search for the missing sword of power. So depending on how they decide to execute that, we may not see He-Man until episode 4 or 8 or however long they consider this part, because you know how Netflix does their things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they thought maybe he was in the beginning, and then the sword gets lost, and he gets lost, or he's seemingly maybe dead. You know, obviously not really, but like everyone thinks he's dead, and then it becomes and then there's a time skip, and then it's the Tila show from then.
Yeah. But it does, I mean, from the description, I think everybody should have figured it was going to be the Tila show.
Mm-hmm.
Which, why even call it He-Man at that point? Like, I know that's the brand, but... Because when it was first being marketed, it was just Masters of the Universe Revelation, but now they're throwing the word He-Man in front of it, I think, from what I've seen.
Are they? Let me see.
It might still be Masters of the Universe. Because then, if that's the case... let me look at what the title was. Okay, yeah, it's still Masters of the Universe Revelation. At no point does the name imply that this is a He-Man show.
Yeah.
I mean, it should be a He-Man show, but it's not like they're lying to you with the name. It's a show that involves the Masters of the Universe.
So what Kevin Smith said to Clownfish TV was, as showrunner, I really could. Well, they said something about my understanding from an alleged insider. Tila is better. He steps aside to let her and her girlfriend take over hero duties. If so, this won't play well. Kevin Smith responds, as showrunner, I really could have used these story suggestions before we locked the scripts. However, no, He-Man does not step aside, and Tila has no girlfriend in our show. The storyline is pretty dark and way metal. There you go. Before Revelation, we were calling it End of the Universe.
I mean, I hope
And
that's the truth, to be honest, but like it looks good enough. I'm gonna give it a shot anyway. Like even if it was the Tila show, but like I don't trust any of these people anymore.
yeah, then later, and I guess this was last year, I think, Clownfish said, I guess was quoting Screen Rant, they said, one major difference is that though He-Man will certainly be around, he won't be the main protagonist anymore. Instead, the focus will be on Tila. And Kevin Smith responds, with all due respect to Screen Rant, I've read every Masters official script for our shows, plus wrote a few, and viewed 4 amazing animatics. While Tila is as present as she's always been in the Master of the Universe adventures, and she plays a big role, our series is literally all about He-Man.
I hope that he is telling the truth there. I really do. Because maybe he doesn't have control over the marketing, being just the showrunner. But, like, the way the Netflix description is and all their preview stuff, and the way even the official description on IMDb, it's Tila this, Tila that, right? And that could just be the modern marketing going with their girl power, putting her up front to try to, because they think that's what they should be doing. And it could, just all be wrong. You would want to go with the showrunner, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know. I have to see it, right? I can't trust these people anymore, one way or the other. They lie about everything all the time. Are you busy typing away over there?
Yeah. I'm typing a tweet. I'm saying, God, I hope Kevin is telling the truth here and that Real Clownfish is dead wrong. And I'm positive that they'll be very glad to be wrong as well.
Yeah, I mean, I would be glad to be wrong about anything I've said about this show. I don't like being right. Because I'm usually right about awful things.
I was live tweeting right here on the show. So you think it's showing the last episode? Help if I would click on the wrong button. Sorry about that.
I think it might be showing whatever the last episode is in the first part. It could be the first. Like, I mean, that would make sense to have like some type of flash forward, because this is supposed to be like years later. But the thing is, the way it was described, right, is it could either be the Masters of the Universe after they've been doing things with He-Man for a while in the past, right? But even with Skeletor attacking Grayskull and stuff, it sounds like they haven't called upon a champion yet in the trailer. So it could either be that and the champion's gone, or the Masters were the former glory and Prince Adam hasn't been He-Man yet.
Yeah.
And if the latter is the case, then it's probably the last episode of the season. If the former is the case, then it is probably the first episode with the flash forward. To me, that seems like the only two ways of handling that, with the way they're setting it up.
I mean, I wouldn't have too much of a problem with it if, like, he's Prince Adam most of the time. Yeah. Like, he's still the protagonist, but he just doesn't have the sword yet or something like that. Like, if this is all a prequel to the, to the 80s show.
Well, it doesn't have to be a prequel. It could just be a reboot, right?
A reboot, yeah, whatever.
There could be a whole war with Skeletor and stuff with the Masters of the Universe prior to Tila and Prince Adam coming onto the scene, which is kind of assumed in most versions of the show anyway.
Mm-hmm. I'm just glad that they had Man at Arms in the trailer.
Yeah, because we hadn't seen a screenshot of him or anything. I think they were saving him for the teaser trailer.
Yeah, he wasn't in. And what is up with that initial screenshot with Tila with the danger hair and like all women and is like
maybe she was training, like I said. This is probably before. Yeah. This is why I think, or I have a good hope that this is prior to Adam becoming He-Man, Because if that was Tila training before she gets into her outfit and that she's wearing in the trailer, then that could also mean that Adam's a younger prince, right? Who's going to become He-Man.
But was in the original show, I don't really remember, was she that big of a character?
Yeah, she was basically running around with Adam all the time. Like, she was in every single episode.
Because her and Man-at-Arms were like, weren't they like equal characters, or was he not in
Kind
the
of,
show
but that's
as much
because
as
that's Man-at-Arms is her dad.
Oh. I can't remember.
Yeah, so she's got big shoes to fill, you know?
He is her dad. I forgot that. Totally.
Yeah.
It's been so long. I've not watched the show since I was a kid.
Well, that's
Probably 30
why
years.
Adam and Tila are such close friends, right? They grew up together because Adam is the son of the king and she's the daughter of the guy who's in charge of the entire military. So she's practically nobility to a degree.
Is the king alive? Yeah, the king, like his parents are still alive, right?
I think so.
In the 80s.
Yeah.
I can't remember the show at all. I swear.
It's probably been a long time since you've seen it.
I think I've watched at least some of She-Ra more recently than He-Man, because I remember more about that show for some reason.
Classic He-Man marathon.
Maybe we should.
Yeah, that'd be fun. He-Man's one of those shows I
really
think still holds up really well. I always enjoy watching He-Man.
I don't think I could tell you the synopsis of a single episode. Even like the first episode. I don't remember any of it.
That's okay. You know what most of the internet knows about He-Man?
What?
Is the He-Man Sings for Non-Blondes video by Slack Circus. That's what most of the internet knows about He-Man, so.
Yeah. Well, I know there's Cringer and Battle Cat, Orko.
Dude, Orko looked fucking badass in that trailer when he's doing like that huge magic like barrier thing.
Yeah, he's doing that. Yeah, that looked awesome. And there were some shots of Battle Cat that looked pretty cool.
Yeah. They're probably thinking every black mage in history was based off of Orko. Let's go the other direction now.
Base Orko off.
Have him actually doing these instead of just being a mild illusionist, actually have him doing like these crazy magic things.
Yeah, that would be awesome. He could be their Deus Ex Machina in any situation.
Well, because they don't really have a mage, right? Like, because Orko did like petty things, right? So it'd be nice because everybody else is some type of warrior class in that regard in the Masters of the Universe. Yeah. They'll have like a gimmick to them, but they're all just I'm going to beat you to death for the most part.
But that's kind of all the bad guys too. They didn't have
but the bad guys had a mage. Well, actually, the bad guys had two people that use magic. Because Skeletor can use magic and Evil Lyn.
Yeah.
Deus Machina?
Deus
Ex Machina. Which means God of the Machine. It's an old trope from Greek plays. It goes back that far, but the word comes from Latin because those type of plays were still going on in Roman time. And what it would be is at the end of the play, the resolution would literally be a god coming down from like a lift. Like they would have a pulley system. That would be the machine. And the like Zeus, or actually it would be Jupiter at the time that the trope was named, would be lower down and he would solve the problem. And that's what a Deus Ex Machina is. It's something that has like almost nothing to do with the plot and it comes and just ends things. So technically Orko wouldn't be a Deus Ex Machina because he's there and he's part of the plot and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. It's the modern meaning is it's basically a lazy way out. When a writer has written himself into a corner, can't think of a way for the hero to get out of a jam.
And so like something that wasn't set up previously just comes and does it.
Something comes out of nowhere. Yeah. And
Yeah, like a god coming and solving your problem for you.
Yeah. Exactly.
Now, the Romans and the Greeks before them didn't find this lazy because they're like, well, the gods exist and they're watching people, so of course sometimes they'll come and solve the problem.
Yeah.
But from an outside perspective, it's like there was no setup to this. We didn't know that
Yeah.
Jupiter was watching this the whole time or anything.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's just I'm talking about in modern writing. It's a
But
bit lazy.
you can cut it down. It was lazy back then too. They just didn't think it was because they're believing the god. But it's something that wasn't set up prior, just comes and solves it. Like there's a car chase or whatever, right? And all of a sudden, a meteor comes and kills the people that they're chasing. Oh well, problem solved. They're not going to get away with the stuff after all.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, Orko wouldn't really be that because he is a major part of the story.
Yeah.
But it's just kind of, a funny thought that he could potentially, depending on how powerful they make him, could potentially get them out of jams.
They did technically have a wizard on their side, but she never did anything. Like the sorceress
Yes, she couldn't actually
leave the castle.
Could she leave the
unless
castle?
She could, but only in the form of an owl.
Right. Owl or eagle?
An eagle, something. It was some type of bird. It's been a while. It's whatever her headpiece is.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a falcon.
Something. Yeah. But yes, we were talking about the trailer and how good it looks.
Yeah,
and how
it looks worth watching. We should binge it.
Optimistic, maybe. When is it coming out?
I don't know, but it's probably only going to be like 4 episodes knowing Netflix, so we could just watch it all in one sitting.
I hope it's more than that. I mean, I gotta say, they did a great job with Voltron. And they did
I didn't like Voltron.
Pretty good. You did? Or you didn't?
I didn't.
The Netflix Voltron? What was wrong with it?
Yeah, I didn't like it. It was kind of boring. It didn't really feel too much Voltron. Like, it didn't feel like it wasn't, but it was like in that uncanny valley of like, this could have been Voltron, but I could have also seen this being any other mech show.
Okay. Well, I liked it. I have not heard that they're going to reboot She-Ra.
They should.
Absolutely.
Especially if this does good, they should just make a new one that works into this world.
Yeah, exactly. Pretend the other one never existed. And I liked Castlevania. As much as I had some issues with it, overall, I liked it. So, I don't know.
They just
I
need
like
to put
Voltron.
more actual Castlevania music in it is the big thing.
Yeah.
And make the characters
Yeah,
act like the characters.
Yeah, a bit more, I don't know, Castlevania tropes or something.
Mm-hmm.
It just, but as a standalone.
It's a good start for tackling a series like that. They just need to get more into the weeds and stuff like that when they go into more series. Because the Castlevania people I heard were also tackling Devil May Cry next.
Oh.
And I'm going to be really upset if they ruin Dante.
Yeah. Well, I was, our standards are so low.
Yours,
I guess I should be more. Yeah. I guess I should be more disappointed that they did gender swap Grant Dynasty, but it was just completely expected. And I don't know. I feel like they ruined Lenore's story.
Yeah.
Not ruined it in terms of actual Castlevania lore, but just with the show, just the way her character was going on the show, it was just such a disappointing ending to her story. It's just like,
you know what we need? Some dedicated fans working on the script, doing a show for Rondo of Blood with Richter and Maria. That would be a great show. And you've already got a female main character that can accompany it. You don't have to work in somebody who is otherwise a side character to be a main protagonist. Like, Maria is much a main protagonist in Rondo of Blood as Richter is. And she attacks with squirrels.
Timothy can't understand a word I'm saying here. Grant? How do you spell his name?
Oh, I don't remember.
I gotta look it up. Castlevania. Grant. Yeah, Dynasty. I don't know how to pronounce his name. But yes, I spelled it right. He was in Castlevania 3.
Yes.
And he was like a, I don't know what you call it, pirate, thief kind of character. Well, they turned him into a girl.
Yeah.
Who ends up being, by the end, romantically involved with Alucard. It's like,
the thing is, they could have left him a guy and still had him romantically involved with Alucard, because Alucard's a vampire, and you don't judge vampires the same way you judge normal people.
Well, in season 3, he had a 3-way bisexual relationship
with a set of twins.
Frankly, I didn't have a problem with that.
He's half vampire. Nobody judges this. It's like whatever.
Exactly. Vampires bite necks regardless of gender.
And vampires are inherently sexual beings. Like, even going back to the oldest legends of vampires, it's like, you think you're trying to freak somebody out, like, oh, look how controversial. It's like, no, he's a fucking vampire. Everybody's seen freaking what was it, Interview with a Vampire.
Yeah, or what was it, Bram Stoker's
Dracula. Yeah, Dracula was even, he was a sexual being.
Yeah, he was very sexual.
Yeah, vampires will probably screw anything that moves with a general human form. I don't know if they would screw an animal so much, but they would probably screw a monster that had like a general human form to it. They're not too picky.
Yeah. Werewolves, whatever.
Yeah.
What was my point? Oh yeah, you said Richter and Maria?
Yeah, and Rondo of Blood. That would be the best story that you could actually tell.
Yeah, and I mean that ties into, would that be a prequel then to this one? So I can't remember if Trevor.
Again. I pulled up the timeline before. Well, I think Trevor.
Because I know that was a prequel.
First Belmont that you actually play as, chronologically speaking.
But I know that the end of Rondo of Blood leads into Symphony of the Night, right?
Yeah.
Because they portray the end of Rondo of Blood at the beginning of Symphony of the Night. You play Richter at the beginning. But
Trevor's the second you chronologically play as. I forgot you play as Leon Belmont in one game. Leon is the first that you ever play as. He has many lines of unknown descendants. Then it's Trevor. Then there are two people in between him and Christopher Belmont, and then Christopher's son is Simon. Christopher's son is Soliel. Then there's a number of unknown descendants between Soliel and Simon. Then Simon has a son or daughter. They actually don't specify. He has some child. And then that child's child is Just. Just has several lines of unknown descendants. Then it's Richter. And then many unknown descendants between Richter and Julian Belmont. So Richter is actually the second to last Belmont that you play. So it'd be way down the line from where you are. Because this is like one of the oldest stories. And then Richter is one of the newest stories, chronologically speaking.
So, does Symphony of the Night take place in the future? Or like modern day?
Well, no, none of them takes place modern day. This is many unknown descendants. It could be 1, it could be 2, could be 3. The timeline isn't that tight on how much it is. But all of this takes place between medieval and Renaissance time. None of it's modern day. But that is hundreds of years to fill in.
Isn't there one Castlevania game that takes place in the future?
There
I thought there was.
might be. Well, because like Julius Belmont is very, very close to the modern day. Gunpowder and stuff had already been invented. I believe, when does that one take place? Is it like the 1600s maybe? And that's the Dawn of Sorrow. When did Julius live?
Yeah, Dawn of Sorrow takes place in 2036. Aria of Sorrow is 2035.
Oh yeah, I see that. Oh, that's weird. Because the world is still so medieval. Or not medieval, it's more Renaissance.
Mhm.
I guess the world in that timeline just never progressed. Because then Portrait of Ruin, I think, takes place after that, too.
And Julius Belmont existed in 1999.
Well, he was 55 in our.
So what'd you say, Portrait of Ruin?
Yeah, I think, is that the last one chronologically?
No, Portrait of Ruin took place in 1944.
Oh, okay. Yeah, their
The
world
last
just
one in
never
the
advanced
timeline
then.
is
I
Yeah.
was always under the assumption that all of their games took place between medieval and Renaissance because the world never looks like it gets past the Renaissance.
Mm-hmm. I do remember, because I played Aria of Sorrow and Dawn of Sorrow, and I didn't remember that those were the ones, but I did remember playing a Castlevania game where it specifically says it's
I
in
didn't remember the
future
year.
at some point.
I've played both those games too. I did not remember the year being mentioned.
Yeah. And I
I
remember
assume
it
those
because
games
it takes
took place
place
in like the 1600s, just because of the way the world looked at the time.
Yeah, but they at least Aria of Sorrow takes place in Japan in 2035, and presumably Dawn of Sorrow does too. I don't know, but anyway,
Castlevania.
what was my point?
Yeah. I don't know. We even got onto Castlevania because we were just talking about the animation.
Well, because we were talking about Netflix series, and I thought they did a decent job with Castlevania. Frankly, in my opinion, they did a great job with Voltron, but you were less impressed.
I was not impressed. Yeah.
Well, I hope they do a better job with He-Man.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not like it's Netflix doing it. That's the thing, right? And this is what I keep telling people. It's like, oh, Netflix, it's going to be awful or it's going to be great. It's like, you don't know that just by it being on Netflix, because Netflix is just a producer. You have to look at the team. Now, one of the reasons why I'm so skeptical about the Masters of the Universe is because Kevin Smith is the showrunner. And I used to really like Kevin Smith's work, but he's become kind of a sissy in his later life. And like, dude, even back when he was writing comics, like his Batman stuff sucks.
Yeah, he strikes me as someone who, if someone came along and said, well, you have to make it this and that he would just go along with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or someone comes along with a really crappy script that's all woke and shit. You know, what's he going to say? No, it's too woke.
Yeah.
He wouldn't be able to stand up to the firestorm from that.
Because I don't think he as a person is woke, but he's kind of just a why can't we all get along type person, so he'd easily just be a pushover.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, I mean, you wonder, like, why can't these showrunners just be like, look at the script and like, no, not doing this. This is bullshit. You know, this is terrible. Or look at these terrible artists that did She-Ra and be like, no.
I would be the best worst showrunner, because if I was giving somebody else's property to work on, I would be like a freaking despotic, totalitarian dictator over it. It's like, what? No, that character would never fucking do that. Get out of here.
Yeah.
I'd probably fire somebody if they just kept coming up to me like 30 times in a row with just absolute crap. I'm like, no, I'm replacing you with somebody who actually wants to do the job right.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I am impressed with the art style of Masters of the Universe, despite the what did I see someone call it? The bisexual lighting that comes down over He-Man when he transforms.
I mean, it's 80s magic, so like,
yeah,
all lighting in the 80s
rainbows.
was pretty bisexual. I mean, look at bands from the 80s, especially like hair metal. Like, I mean, you guys can't be too judgmental. You wanted this.
Yeah, they were wearing, tight leather and all that.
Yeah. Shoving armadillos in their pants to make their bulge look bigger.
Okay. So what else? The Game Awards channel was doing a show today.
Oh, are they? I don't follow that channel.
Yeah, I don't normally either, but they had like 100,000 viewers, and I was like, "What the hell's going on?" And it showed up in my recommended channels. There was some game fest thing where I only turned it on for a little while because I was at work, but they're interviewing Kojima, and apparently they're coming out with a director's cut of Death Stranding.
Boring.
I know.
You know what's funny is I was watching Bo Burnham talking about Netflix. Bo Burnham just put up a special recently. Bo Burnham's a comedian. I don't know how many people know who he is. Hilarious guy. When he was like 14 or whatever, started on YouTube and became like an actual stand-up comedian and everything. He does like songs and stuff. So he put up a special. Parts of it were kind of but there was this one really interesting part where, because the whole thing was called Inside, and he was doing all of the production from inside this small little house, like this tiny house that he lived in or whatever, over the course of the pandemic. That was like the whole thing. And he was pretending to be a game streamer, right? So there was like him in front of a green screen playing, but the thing behind him was him in the place. So it was like he was controlling a version of himself around. It was like, I don't know. Oh, I get this game now. It's like Death Stranding. It's supposed to be boring. That's the point of the game. And that was one of the jokes in there that I just lost it at. He's like, yeah, that game is boring as fuck. It's a decent special, though. I do recommend people watch it.
Yeah, I never got Death Stranding. Isn't it you're just walking around?
Yes, you're a delivery boy.
With a giant backpack full of crap. I didn't understand
and a
that.
baby in like a dome on your chest or whatever.
Yeah, I don't understand that game.
It's Hideo Kojima. You're not supposed to understand it. That's the thing. Like, I'm not surprised that the Game Awards was doing a stream for Hideo Kojima. Who's the guy that runs the Game Awards? I can't remember his name.
Jeff. Something.
Yeah, but dude, he cannot keep his nose out of Kojima's ass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was interviewing him. That wasn't the whole thing. They also brought in shit. What's that guy's name? The guy from Jurassic Park who played Malcolm.
Oh, yeah.
It was in
Goldblum,
Independence Day. Yeah. So Jeff Goldblum came in to announce some new Jurassic World game. It kind of looks, I guess, it kind of looks like an open world. Yeah. Kind of look like some sort of open world adventure game or something like that. Yeah. Those are the only two things that I had the time to watch. But I guess it was a big show because there was like 100,000 people watching.
Yeah.
And it was going on for
Oh,
several
I hate the
hours.
Game
So
Awards.
I have no respect for that organization. I don't know who decided that they were some sort of official video game award group. I think just they decided.
The industry decided because they're heavily backed by industry money.
Okay.
Microsoft and all that. I think we've been
AAA
over this
industry.
before. It's the AAA industry
yeah.
fronts this. Yeah. There's only one award that I respect from the Game Awards, and that's the Player's Choice Award because all the players vote on it, and it's exactly what it says it is. Anyone can go on and vote for the Player's Choice Award.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, not that I had any respect for them before, but if I had, I would have lost it when they voted for, what was it? I want to say Among Us, but that's not right.
No. It was some other big game over Ghost of Tsushima. It was The Last of Us 2.
The Last of Us 2.
Yeah, you got the us part right.
That game, that game was shit.
Over Ghost of Tsushima, which actually is kind of a work of art.
Yeah. I never can figure out how the top chat thing works, but people's entire chats disappear when I'm on top chat versus live chat. Anyway, I'm gonna put a link to Rebellious Pastries YouTube channel.
Oh, that's fine.
She is one sub away from 200.
So I actually got an announcement for a game that I'm kind of hoping is going to be good. You know how, like, prior to 3, I was a big fan of Borderlands, right? I've talked about it many times on here. I really like Borderlands 1 and 2. I even like the pre-sequel. I have a lot of fun with it. 3 disappointed me up until the DLC. And I shouldn't have had to have waited for DLC to come out to enjoy a game that was purchased. But they did announce a new game in the Borderlands kind of like world and stuff. And Gearbox is putting out a game called Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. So like Borderlands, Wonderlands. And based on what they're describing, I think it is an expansion. It's a standalone game, but it's like building up upon something they did in the past. And one of the DLCs to Borderlands 2 was called Tiny Tina's Assault on Dragon's Keep, where she had the Vault Hunters up in the top room of the base for their people. And while the new ones were down there interrogating a guy, the old Vault Hunters were playing a game of Bunkers and Badasses, which is like their Dungeons and Dragons. And after she rolled for initiative or whatever, or she told them to, it zoomed in, and then you were your characters in a fantasy setting. And she was like narrating and stuff like that. And it was the most popular of the DLCs to Borderlands 2. It's actually my favorite. I've played through it more times than the other ones. And this seems like it's that, but more like a full game and actually playing into a high fantasy setting. They've even mentioned like there's bullets, there's magic, there's broadswords. So it's not just going to be like, it's a first person game, but it won't just be a first person shooter. I'm assuming the magic's not even just going to be, there's a grenade you could get that was a fireball that would recharge on its own over time. That was pretty cool. You actually shot a fireball out. But there's probably going to be more magic. There's going to be actual like melee combat in it, which would be fun. And she's just going to take you on this chaotic fantasy adventure where everything is just completely unpredictable because it's Tiny Tina, where she's going to like make up the rules, change the world on the fly, and just craziness. And as long as the gameplay's fun and it follows suit of that expansion from 2, I'm down. Ashley Birch does a great job voicing Tina. She has since the character was introduced. She's probably my favorite character in the game. And they even said This is weird that they're bringing in these big actors for it, because I kind of have respect for the voice acting industry, and I like it when you actually stick to voice actors. But Andy Samberg is going to be in it. Wanda Sykes and Will Arnett are all going to be voices in that game. So it's like, it might be interesting. I'm down to see what's going on there.
That sounds cool. I like Will Arnett.
Yeah, Will Arnett's great. Wanda Sykes is funny too. Like you could put her in any role, and she's like, "Ah, hell no." And I've liked Andy Samberg since what's it, Lonely Island, before he was even like SNL and stuff.
Yeah, that sounds cool. Is Tiny Tina actually tiny?
She used to be. I mean, she's still kind of tiny compared to most people, but she's an adult now if they're going by in-game lore. In Borderlands 2, she was the world's most dangerous 13-year-old because she was an explosives expert. And then in Borderlands 3, she's like 20. Like she had just become an adult or whatever. So she's not so Tiny Tina, but like I think she's still like 5 foot nothing. She's like 5'2" or something like that. She's still kind of tiny.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, I never really got into Borderlands, but sounds like a fun
is fun.
Little side game or spin-off.
Well, or as a series, it's kind of fun. 3 is just kind of like the downer on it. But it's one of those games it's more fun to play with other people. Like, it's entirely made to where you can enjoy it as a single player. I've played through the games many times single player. In fact, the first time I ever played Borderlands was single player. But it's designed to be played up to 4 people. And the way they do it, and I think this is how everybody should handle this, is the entire game is balanced for 1 player. And then when another player jumps in, you get a notification. It's like, the enemies in Pandora have just got a bit more difficult. So, like, the world scales up the more people are playing.
Oh, okay. I see.
But it's like proportionately. So the game doesn't suddenly become easier just because you have a second player in there. It's like, this is how difficult the game should be if there's 2 people. But that can't really account for how good either of the 2 people are.
Right. That's true.
Fun series. Good comedy.
Yeah. Speaking of multiplayer, we talked yesterday about Battlefield, what's it called? 2054?
It's something like that. Some future number.
Yeah, Rebellious Pastry is not listening, unfortunately. She's just watching. I'm just going to say.
How can this show be amazing even when it's muted? This is almost entirely an audio show.
Because we're so handsome, I guess. That must be but yeah, so we talked briefly about that, and that they had gotten rid of the single player mode.
Yeah,
which I've been paying attention to what other people are saying. Some people are saying, like, is it going to be a $70 game? Like,
it might be. They've been raising prices on stuff. Some people.
Yeah, and then they're not going to include a single player mode.
Yeah.
For that price, like, oh my god, whatever. But another aspect, I guess, of this game is that I completely forgot. I guess I blocked it out of my mind. The whole controversy around Battlefield 5 and how they had like the female protagonist with a robotic arm in World War II, and then
is that Battlefield
like 1? No, it's Battlefield 5.
Was it 5? Okay, I was trying to remember which one took place back in the past.
No,
because they had a game
5.
recently that was called Battlefield and then the word 1, not to be confused with the original Battlefield.
Yeah, but no, this was 5. definitely. And
Okay.
how they said something about if you don't like it, then don't buy it or some bullshit like that. And of course, people didn't. I
Yeah.
think the sales were terrible.
Oh yeah, I didn't buy it,
So
and I kind of like Battlefield.
yeah, in this one, they've actually decided to embrace gamers instead of embracing games journalists. And apparently, games journalists are not happy about that. But the gamers are the ones that will reward them, I'm sure.
No, I'm not buying it. That's for sure. But that's
I'm
because there's no
not.
single player mode.
Yeah. Yeah, that's gonna skew the results a bit, I think. Like they got rid of the woke crap, but they also got rid of single players. So
I don't think it's going to
those
skew
might
it that
still.
much because, like I just, said last time when we were talking about it, most people only get it to play the multiplayer at this point in time. It used to be that you would know the difference between somebody who didn't play the single player because the single player is how you got good. It would be about half of the people, and you'd be able to rise up pretty fast, like ranking up. It stopped being that case over time because more and more people were just buying the game and jumping straight into it. Some level of mechanics would carry over from the last game. But it's just less people were playing single player anyway. I think they are catering to their main audience. They're just going to lose people like me.
Mm-hmm.
But
Well,
it's catering entirely to me.
What's that?
Phantasy Star Online 2 New Genesis, which I played for like 4 hours straight last night. Maybe more. I forget when I started.
Did that just come out?
Yeah, it on the 9th. It dropped.
Oh,
And that's why I started
you
patching
mentioned
it. Yeah.
Okay, now it makes more sense because you mentioned something about downloading, and I was like, I didn't make the connection that they released that. Okay.
Yeah, and I was having fun. So it uses the same patcher, or the same launcher as Phantasy Star Online 2. In fact, it is technically the same game. What they did was they updated the game you already had. It was a 35.9 gig download. So basically 36 gigs. So it was a whole game download. And,
as I laugh in ARC.
Well, if you want to play the game, it comes with Phantasy Star Online 2, which was previously also like an 84 gig or up to 90 gig download. So 90 plus 36.
Yeah.
But it's great. I could go back and play the old one at any time. Actually, you don't even have to switch games, right? Because they're built into the same game. You could just go to the block transfer area and you can transfer to, like, do you want to transfer to Phantasy Star Online 2 blocks? Or if you're in PSO2, would you like to transfer to New Genesis blocks? And it'll move your character over. And you could play as the exact same character, but you have different levels in each area, which is not new. They already had that for the Universal Challenge ship and the Universal Arena ship, because you had a arena level which started back at 1 and a challenge level that started back at 1 for that stuff. So in New Genesis, you're playing the same character profile, but you're starting back at level 1. But if you jump back over to the old game, you're still like, I'm 96 or something like that. Yeah. And this game is fast as fuck. Like, really fast, because it's an exploration game. The PSO2, slow. Not for the time it came out, because the game came out like 2014 or whatever. Right? But there's only a dodge function. Like, you have to double step to dash. They kind of sped it up with the Luster class because they gave you moves that can make you move faster. This game, the dash is built in from the beginning. You have a sprint, which is that's pretty fast. You can run around. You just double dash and then hold the button at the end of the dash and you start sprinting. There, you double jump right from the get-go instead of having to unlock it at level 40. You can glide like in Genshin or something like that. No stamina either. You can dash indefinitely and glide until you run out of height. And you can even wall jump to a degree. Not like the Mario style, but if you're like, you double jump and then you hold next to a wall, you'll kick off the wall to go up even higher. And possibly make it to the top of a cliff face. Or if you're already at the top, You can use it to jump even higher to start gliding a longer distance. I have kind of been ignoring most of the story, and I've just been exploring the place and unlocking all of the fast travels. But like even the combat is way faster. It is a fun game, and I want other people to play it with me. I am enjoying the shit out of this, even after only like 4 or 5 hours of playing.
Yeah. Cool.
What is Elden Ring, and why are people apparently hyped for it? I haven't looked too much into it. I think this is what it is. After the last Souls game, they said that they were going to be taking a break, like Dark Souls was done, but they were going to be making a game like that with the Tolkien estate. And I believe that's what Elden Ring is. It's basically Dark Souls in Middle-earth.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an open world RPG set in Middle-earth.
Okay.
And apparently
from FromSoft.
Yeah, apparently George R.R. Martin is involved.
Yeah, I heard that back when they originally were talking about it, that Martin was going to be involved in Elden Ring. Years ago. I think it was like 2017 or 18 when this was first being talked about. They didn't give a title yet. They just said they were making a Middle-earth Dark Souls game with Martin. So I'm guessing Elden Ring's the title.
Yeah, I saw the hype for that, and I'm just like, meh. I don't know. I never got into
the Souls games.
Yeah. I don't know why people are so hyped about it. Plus, it doesn't come out till January.
Yeah.
Plus, it might suck. Who knows?
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know? It might.
You have to wait
it could
for
very
January
well
to buy a Middle-earth Souls game when you could just be playing Phantasy Star Online 2 New Genesis right now for free.
That's right. Yes, Martin is a hack.
Yeah.
And it could be for all we know, it could be great, or it could be a Cyberpunk 2077 style buggy nightmare.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Who knows?
You know, when I see this much hype, especially for something I hadn't heard of before today, I kind of want it to suck.
I mean, I heard about it a long time ago. I just didn't know what the name was going to be. I don't want it to suck. Yeah. Like, the Souls games do okay. Like, you've seen the sales. They're kind of on par with some of the middling Final Fantasy games. They don't do bad. They sell pretty well. I mean, to do 10 million units sold is not bad.
Yeah, that's not bad.
And people enjoy them. They've got a really hardcore community, and they have one of the highest completion rates for trophies on PlayStation, which is the only way that we can really get it. I think they're pretty equivalent on Xbox and Steam as well. But their community is so dedicated that people who tend to buy those games tend to 100% them. So I want them to be able to enjoy the game. I want it to be good for them. I just have no interest in it.
And is it going to be... Oh, I think I saw. It's going to be PlayStation, Xbox, and PC.
Yeah.
Although it says PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and Windows.
Oh.
I imagine it will also be on PlayStation 5.
Oh, yeah, it definitely will be. I'm guessing they started work on it so early that, like, we can't afford to just rework everything for this to be exclusive to the new stuff. We're just going to release the old version with an updated, like, maybe HD patch to it or something like that. A lot of people are doing it. Like, the new console generation, while everybody kind of knew it was coming, but they also said that for 3 years in a row. Like 3 summers in a row, it's like the PS5 is coming out this summer. The PS5 is coming out. Well, yeah, if you say it enough, eventually you're going to be right. They did kind of sneak it up on everybody.
Yeah, and the fact that they only released the new Final Fantasy VII Remake on PS5 is shocking to me. And just like, seems really stupid. Because like nobody can get their hands on a damn PS5.
Yeah. Well, I don't think they foresaw the shortages. I don't know if anybody really could have foresaw the shortages, because part of one of the reasons it's so hard to get them is the same reason it's so hard to get any electronic component right now. Especially because
why would they release part 1?
On the PS4.
Why would they release part 1 on the PS4 and not part 2?
Well, we've been over this. I think they actually are. Well, at least the DLC with Yuffie, which was originally going to be only PS5 as well. You had to upgrade. I believe they said that they, after a bit of time, they're going to release that on the PS4. They're downscaling it, and that's probably because nobody can get their hands on a PS5.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if I didn't want to try the remake before, and I didn't,
Yeah.
I definitely don't want to try it now because I can't play part 2. Because I'm never going to get PS5, probably.
Yeah.
If I ever wanted to get a PS4, I mean, I might. I don't know, but so stupid.
That's the one group of people who can't play Phantasy Star. Is the PlayStations. Well, I'm actually, or Switch. Switch people can't play it either. Because Microsoft is the one that paid for the translation and everything. So it's only available on Xbox. It was previously only available through the Microsoft Store, but after like a year, Steam picked it up, or 6 months. And because it was already on Steam, even New Genesis is already on Steam too. It uses the same game.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to me, everything should be on PC.
I agree. Maybe with this, I would love Nintendo games to be on PC, but at the same time, I don't want them to ever be on PC because I like how much control Nintendo has of its own market.
Yeah.
But Xbox,
by the way.
there was an article I was reading too, where, and I've been saying this for years, but now they're finally coming public with it, that Xbox is trying to leave the console market for the most part, or Microsoft, with Xbox just being like a cheap gaming PC that's available for people who don't want to deal with things, and it kind of always was, because everything is going to be available on the Windows Store going forward as well.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes perfect sense. And I mean, yeah, the way it is now, even if it's a game that really requires a controller, you can get a controller for your PC. You can use
get an Xbox controller. They plug and play right in.
Mm-hmm. So, makes sense to me.
Yeah.
By the way, we always talk about Final Fantasy, but
I didn't bring it up this time. I was talking about Fantasy.
I'm bringing it up. I know, Fantasy Star. I know. Just briefly, I saw someone online mention. I think someone was asking about cringy game like openings.
Yeah.
And someone mentioned Final Fantasy X2 had a cringy beginning.
Yes.
And I was like, you know what? I don't think I've ever played or even watched
about the
anyone
concert?
play X2. Yeah. So I booted it up today while I was, having lunch. I was like, I've never played this game. Let me try it. And it's like, is this even a Final Fantasy game?
Where Yuna goes from being a high priestess to being a pop star?
Yeah, who changes her outfits in the middle of battle.
Yeah, because that's how they shift jobs. Like the costume system, the mascot system is how they did the jobs in that game.
I was like, what the fuck is this? Is this a real Final Fantasy game?
You look at 10-2 and suddenly 13 makes a lot of sense.
Does it? Yeah.
They do the same thing, basically. They just don't shift outfits. The whole job shifting in battle and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Paradigm
and the battles are different from Final Fantasy X. It's just, I don't know, it's like simplified, but I don't know, it's just bizarre. But then she goes into this ship, and now I'm like hunting creatures and doing spheres, and like, what the fuck is this? What am I doing?
If you think that's bad, go onto YouTube or whatever, Google, and watch the Final Fantasy X-2 hot tub, or the hot spring scene.
Oh, Jesus.
There's a scene where the three of them are in, like, naked, but you don't see anything, in a hot spring, talking about boys.
Oh, God.
Specifically, TS gets brought up.
The whole game revolve around those three girls?
Yes, those are the only three characters you play as in the whole game, is Yuna, Riku, and Pain. Not even Lulu, who was already a girl that's kind of broody and gothic that was introduced in the first game. No, Pain, who's a different broody gothic girl.
And half the game seems to be like you're playing Pokemon. You're trying to capture these animals to fight for you.
Yeah.
Well,
it's not a well-liked game. This is why they had to bundle it with the original 10.
Yeah. Well, goddamn. I guess that's why nobody ever recommended it to me. Nobody
also,
ever said,
the animal capturing thing is completely worthless, too. Because you could just play the gun mage, and the gun mage is basically the blue mage of that game, but with guns and way better. All the other mechanics are worthless compared to the gun mage, and this is why we literally just call it Dress Up Barbie with guns.
Cool. So I didn't miss anything. I didn't miss out on anything of that. Interesting. I just wanted to bring that up because I played Final Fantasy X2 for the first time ever today. It's fun to let you know.
Seriously,
and the beginning was very, very cringy.
Anyone who hasn't seen the infamous Final Fantasy X-2 hot spring scene should go and look that up after this show is over, which is right about now. So I'd like to, thank you, my co-host, for showing up.
No problem.
Because we went the whole show without a proper introduction.
Really?
Yeah, I never introduced the show. We were just talking. But I am closing it.
Well, welcome. Welcome to the Vomitorium.
And goodbye. If you enjoy the show, please share it with somebody else who might like it. If you really enjoy it, consider giving a donation to streamlabs.com/vomitoriumlive. And we will see you in the next episode.
See ya.